welcome to the DMV Roundtable podcast. I am your host, Jose Barreto, and in today's episode, I am joined here by Devon Palermo. How are you, Devon?
What's up, man? Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Devon is the owner of DPI Adaptive Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit. We're going to start by, like I always do, I want to know about, I know a lot about you, but I want the listeners to know who you are.
Got it.
Personally. So where were you born? Where were you raised?
Okay, so I was born in New York City, Manhattan, Upper West Side of Manhattan. I grew up there and moved. When did we move here? Probably around 1995 is when we moved to Virginia.
To the DMV area?
To the DMV area.
What brought you guys here from New York?
You remember? I had a troubled youth, I guess you can say, and my sisters did as well. Okay. And my parents were just looking for a change and getting out of the city and just kind of the circle that we were in there. Okay. So that's what brought us here ultimately. Okay.
Yeah, all right. So, why here specifically? Do you remember that?
I do. My parents, my mom is very close with a reverend who was in the area, and he invited her over. She liked the area, and they, I guess, were going to help out a little bit, once they got down here. Okay. So kind of get them set up and all that, and just have some people nearby supportive. Okay. That kind of thing.
And from there, you guys just stayed here.
We stayed. Yeah, we stayed. I went to high school here. I got into a little bit of trouble in the beginning, and then I switched schools. Ended up graduating high school, going to college here, and all that. And
where'd you go to high school again?
I went to Fairfax.
Fairfax
High School. Yeah.
And college?
In college, I went to Northern Virginia Community College.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
And then I guess when was it? 2011. My parents moved to Pennsylvania, so now I'm the only one here.
Okay. Yeah. They went to Pennsylvania. What about your sister?
My younger sister lives with my parents in Pennsylvania, and then I have two older sisters. One is in Jersey City, and the other one is in the Bronx.
In the Bronx, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you're married?
I'm married.
I asked that question because he's married to my sister. But people listening may not know. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been married since 2006.
Okay.
And then we were dating well before that as well. So not quite high school sweethearts, but started in college.
Very close.
Yeah, very close. Yeah. Very close.
But you guys have met each other in high school, though.
We knew of each other, and we hung out in high school, but we didn't really start hanging out until first or second year of college, I think it was. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. Yeah. Any kids?
We have two kids. Yep, 10-year-old and an 8-year-old.
I told you.
Yeah.
I didn't see. They don't know. I know that I know you, but they don't necessarily know you.
Yep, two boy and a girl, Alessandra and Xavier.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cute kids too, by the way. All right. So tell me a little bit about. Well, not a little bit. I want to know everything there is to know about DPI. Tell me how your journey started in this line of work.
Okay.
Take me back.
Take you back. Okay. So I've always wanted to work in healthcare, and I'm a hands-on type of person. So after high school, I wanted to get into therapy, and there was the therapy program that was available was full. Like there was a 3 or plus year waiting list. Okay. And so I kind of just fiddled around for a little bit, got a degree in health and fitness in the meanwhile, and then there was a big Medicare changes that caused a change in how therapists get paid, and it drastically reduced what the salaries of therapists were making.
As a result of what, do you remember?
Just how Medicare would pay out, how just the different Medicare laws at the time, and so because of that, that waiting list that I was not even on because it was so long, it went to nothing. Like the therapy program had no interest at all. Okay. So it opened up, and I jumped on and that started the the journey, I guess, if you will. Okay. So fast forward, I graduate from physical therapy assistant school, become a licensed professional. I'm working at a rehabilitation hospital in DC. And going into therapy, my focus was I wanted to be like any guy. I want to work in sports. I want to help. Okay, so
that's how you started. You wanted to.
That was the mindset. That
was the lane you kind of wanted.
Yeah, I've always been into fitness and sports. I've played sports. I've done all kinds of things, but I wanted to be in the sports side, and so when you're in school, they make you do rotations to kind of get a taste of everything. Okay. And when you're really green, you don't know all the different varieties of therapy that there are.
Sure.
So I did my run in pediatrics, and
Okay.
I really didn't like it at the time. I did my run in skilled nursing, didn't like it, and so they do that on purpose, obviously,
Well,
to give you
actually,
a
it makes
taste.
sense.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
And so I remember, always the sports programs, sports ortho programs were always like, you get to pick 3 options and you only get maybe your second or third. And everybody was gunning for the sports ortho stuff.
Okay.
And I didn't get it. So I ended up doing a rotation in an acute care setting. So basically, that's like somebody just had a back surgery or a shoulder surgery.
Okay.
You're the therapist that gets them up out of bed and gets them to try to move and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I like it. I wasn't fully in, but I was like, I like this setting.
Right.
I met a therapist while doing that who was working at a rehab hospital, and he was like, you need to come. You need to check this out. This is awesome. This is where it's at. And so I applied for a rotation at MedStar National Rehabilitation Hospital in D.C. And I remember my professors.
Were you living in DC at the time?
No.
Oh, so you had to commute.
Yeah, I was living in Manassas at the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, so it was very far.
Okay.
But I remember the professors were not advising against it, but just kind of putting up the front of or making it known that this is going to be a hard rotation. The therapists there are, they know their stuff and they're going to be on you.
Right.
And I still went for it, and best decision I ever made. Like I loved it.
Okay.
And this is working with people that have been severely impacted by physical disability, trauma, stroke, things like that.
Okay. So that was your introduction to that.
Yeah.
To that side of the physical therapy.
Exactly.
business.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did. I think it was like 3 months of working as basically a student therapist. So
Okay.
I had a professional over my shoulder, and they would, kind of have me treat a patient and then give me reviews after, that kind of thing. And I again for 3 months, and it was in a setting where these people their lives have just changed completely.
Right. And these are accidents, that they could have it doing anything.
Doing anything.
It could be. Okay.
Oh, dude, the stories it's insane, but it's definitely where that seed was planted and that passion was developed. I mean, my very first spinal cord patient, because again, I'm working with people with physical trauma or disabilities. This was a woman she was 6'2", really tough, mean, strong-looking woman. She was a warden at a jail in Maryland.
Okay.
And she was at home on a Saturday evening and had a couple, beers to relax.
Right.
And went to go feed a cat, lost her balance, fell forward, and broke her neck.
And broke her neck. So doing nothing but just feeding her cat.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it. So she became an incomplete quadriplegic, which means that she was affected in all 4 limbs.
Okay.
And that was my very first spinal cord patient. And this is the woman that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, working with it.
Right.
When I first met her, she was, if you can imagine the scene, she came in a wheelchair that was reclined back with a neck collar, and she can't move, and she's got all kinds of lines and things, and at the time she can only wiggle her toe, and that was it. And over the course of my 3 months working there, we were able to get her up to the point where she can now stand independently for a certain amount of time. And I think the progression of seeing that from only being able to move her toe to standing, I was all
Oh
in.
yeah,
I was all in.
that has to be
Yeah.
That has to be very rewarding.
Yeah, it
Great
was
feeling.
cool.
Was it and again, I'm sorry to take you back a little
Yeah.
bit. Was it the way she fell?
Yeah. So what she had was called, and not to get too medical, but it's called a central cord injury. So the way that she fell made her hyperextend her neck. And it damaged a certain part of her spinal cord that affected her upper body and initially everything. There was a lot of swelling.
Right.
But as she got stronger and got back, her legs were really strong, but her arms were, on the weaker side.
Right.
So that's, it was just a fall. Okay.
Did you still work with her now, or was that in the past? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was, for a long time I did. I feel like she was a really cool case because I was a student when she first came, and I was her therapist leading up to her discharge at the end of my 3-month rotation.
Right.
And I ended up getting hired by the hospital before I graduated from school.
Okay.
So I was set to, as soon as I graduated, I was set to go right into working, but it was in the outpatient department, whereas when I was working with this woman, it was inpatient.
Okay.
So I started working in an outpatient department, and guess who's one of my first patients?
Her.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I feel like I was unique in that I got to experience her from day one rehab all the way through to outpatient. So,
Okay.
but to answer, not to go too long, I worked with her for many years in therapy. We kept in touch for a couple of years when she was discharged, saw her like years past at like the annual functions that the hospital does, and then it just kind of fell off. So I don't know where she's at.
But the last time you saw her, how was she doing?
She was walking with a cane. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
physical therapy is almost magic, man.
it is, man. It is.
It's almost magic. I mean, if you can, I tell people, if you can avoid surgery by doing physical therapy, man, just go that route first every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
The problem is that, like, I mean, obviously, if you take that story from moving your toe to walking with a cane, like, you can imagine how much tremendous effort and work and dedication there is.
Years.
Exactly.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the same goes for, not in a rehab setting. Like, if you're dealing with a shoulder injury, you got to put in the work if you want to get better.
Of course.
You can't expect a therapist's hands for an hour to do the work.
That's right.
So,
That's right. Okay. All right. So that was a very nice and unique case.
Yeah.
And so then from there, how long did you work there?
I worked at that hospital for 5 years.
Okay.
And it got a very, very well-rounded experience because it's a rehab hospital. So I'm seeing amputees, I'm seeing traumatic brain injury patients, stroke survivors, spinal bifida. I'm really seeing everything that's out there in terms of physical disability, like I'm seeing in that environment.
So it's molding you.
It's molding.
Teaching you.
Big time.
Okay.
And the mentors, man, the mentorship that I had there was just amazing. Like, I don't know if it's to this day to the same effect, but the mentors would pull you aside at lunch hours, review cases, talk with you. I mean, it was ongoing. So I feel like, the therapists that I was around at the time were definitely a big contributing factor to getting to where I am at. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's
sure.
awesome. I mean, it's always good to have places like that can set people up to be as successful as you have become by teaching you and making you well-rounded.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
absolutely.
Okay.
So working in that
that was
environment.
for 5 years?
That was for 5 years, and I over the course of that 5 years, I became really well versed in spinal cord injury and amputee.
Okay.
And that was kind of like my niche while I was there. I ran one of the programs there for the most part when I was towards the later years of my stay at the hospital, and then I left to do some outpatient stuff, be a little bit closer to home, and just kind of did some runs in regular physical therapy settings.
Okay. And so then after that, did you go straight to working on your own?
No, so it kind of was a lead up from those days working in rehab. I had, towards the end of my run at that rehab hospital, I had a patient that started working with me who, she was a spinal cord injury woman, and she was newly injured, and I knew her therapist from the inpatient side upstairs, and she gave me a heads up and was like, this patient is coming down to you, please take care of her, she's got a lot of potential for recovery. And I knew about her before I met her.
Right.
So when she came, we developed a relationship. I was like, look, I've already talked with your therapist, and we started working. But then her insurance benefits ran out, so she got cut off because insurance wouldn't pay.
And
so
if the insurance doesn't pay this kind of work is expensive,
devastating.
Isn't it?
Oh, expensive, and it's if you don't receive it at those crucial times, it could be devastating.
Wow.
It could lead to just more problems down the road. So she was going to get discharged, and I spoke with her, and I was like, look, I had already been a trainer for a while, but I wasn't really pursuing like ongoing training.
Right.
I had my certs, and I would train here and there, and I would, friends and things like that, but it wasn't like a side job at that point. It was therapy was my thing.
Right.
And so I told this woman, look, I'm a certified trainer. I can come work with you a couple times a week in your home just to keep your strength up, your endurance, and until your insurance kicks back in. So she agreed, and I did this I did 2 times a week for like 3 or 4 months. And over the course of that time, she became a friend, obviously.
Right.
And over the course of that time, her endurance was better, her strength was better. So when insurance kicked back in and she was able to resume in therapy, the therapists were amazed that she had not regressed. Because this is a newly injured person, she wasn't doing therapy, she's not going to be the same. She's going to be at a different level.
Right.
She was, but it was stronger.
Right.
So they were able to focus on different things, new things with her that to help progress. That caught wind, and she started telling, the patient started telling people and other therapists, and then all of a sudden I became that guy that was training people newly injured or what have you in the evenings after working a full shift.
Right.
And you can ask your sister. Like, I did this for years.
Right.
Where
out of the trunk of your car,
out of
right?
the trunk of my car, dude. I was driving all over the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and seeing, working a full day in the clinic from 7 till 3, and then doing 3 clients in the evening in Silver Spring and Bowie and all over the place, Alexandria.
Right. But it's the passion that you have for it too.
And that's what it
drove
was.
you, right?
That's what it was. Yeah. And it's funny, your sister always says, like, she was with me. Sometimes she would like come with me to a session, sleep in the car while I'm working with the person, then come out and then we'd go out, like that kind of thing.
Oh wow.
That she was with me on it, on that journey the whole time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you put in the time to work, and so then so from there, working for a clinic, then out of the clinic plus the trunk of your car, how did you progress? At some point you made that leap, right?
I did. So it was.
Talk me through it.
Okay, so I told you how that it started with that woman, and then like I started getting calls, and it was a little bit too much. Like I can't, like I physically don't have enough time to see the people that are calling and maintain the therapy job, keep up with everything I need to do for that.
Right.
Newly married guy, trying to keep that relationship strong. So I decided to start an LLC by the advice of some friends, right? And I did the LLC, and I ended up renting space from a therapy clinic in Maryland, and so now I had a location where I can see more people.
Right.
So I would finish my job at
and you got it in Maryland because you have most of your clients were based out of there.
That's
right?
was my thinking.
You were still not living. You
No.
were still living in.
Oh, I
Virginia,
was living.
So
yeah.
So it was more out of convenience for your clients.
For my clients,
Gotcha.
absolutely.
Okay.
So I would leave the hospital 3:00. I had a great shift where I was basically I get there 6:30, get off at 3, and then I'd have the rest of the evening until about 7:38 to see some clients.
Right.
And so that's what I would do. I would drive. The other clinic was about 15 minutes from the hospital, so short drive, and then I'd be able to see 2, 3 people, sometimes 4. And then I started getting other trainers on staff, and then we had a pretty good thing going. But I wasn't in it still. I didn't like the business side of it, so I wasn't like, I was just doing it because I enjoyed doing it.
You like the work.
Yeah,
the work was what drove you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And when it started getting complicated with like the business stuff, I was like,
yeah.
I don't want to do this.
remember having the conversations with you about building, about healthcare building,
all that stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And that side turned me off to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this,
Right.
So I ended up dissolving that, and just, on the side, me doing it still out of the trunk of my car.
So you went back.
And I just went back to the old way. I was like, look, I have a good thing as a therapist, and I'll just keep training 2 people in the evening.
Right.
That's extra income.
Right.
It works like that. But then your sister got pregnant.
Right.
And then now I'm like, okay, I don't want to be driving all over the place.
Right.
So we kind of, the plans changed.
Right.
And
kids tend to change everything.
Right. Kids change everything. We moved. All that good stuff. So now the driving was not. It was not conducive to the lifestyle at all.
Right.
So it was about 2013. I'm working in an outpatient clinic. I had done some director roles. Didn't like that at all. Director roles, like having to. Well, that's a whole nother story. But basically, just running a clinic for someone else is challenging.
Right.
So I didn't enjoy that. So I was like, I just want to treat patients.
So what was it like to run? What did you not like about running?
So I worked for a multidisciplinary company they basically hired a therapy staff to go into a senior living facility and be the therapy program there. So for me, I was assigned 2 clinics, one in Fair Oaks and one in Reston, and I had to oversee the speech therapist, the occupational therapists, the physical therapists, and the company. In order, obviously, they want to make money, so they're on you about your productivity.
Okay.
So the productivity levels, and there's all these spreadsheets and everything. I needed my therapist, whether you were part-time or full-time, to be almost at max for their productivities.
Okay.
So it was almost ridiculous.
So it was like, we got to get clients in, we got to get,
And so I'm not, like, I'm big on, the quality of care.
Right.
So if you're running to see as many people as you can, the quality is going to be gone, because by the time you're with one person,
suffer. No question about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like that. I just didn't like having to push therapists to be that way, because I didn't like being that way.
Right.
And then on top of that, on top of trying to keep everybody's productivity high and manage the facilities, they wanted my productivity to be high.
Right.
And I was like, there's no way, something's got to give. Come on. So it was nuts. It's like, it ended up actually, excuse me, I remember saying to one of the area managers, you basically want me to treat in the elevator while we're riding up to the therapy room,
Right.
And they're like, yeah, use that as patient education. I was like, come on,
gosh,
man.
Are you kidding me?
So I was,
wow. That's definitely not the way to go.
No, at all.
That's not the way to go. Yeah. Because ultimately, especially the type of people that you're seeing and that you're taking care of, that have such high need for relief because their injuries are so severe, right?
Yeah.
So
it's you can't rush it. You gotta deliver the quality for that. So I didn't like that. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So I talked with your sister, and it's funny. You got to talk with her about this story too. But she was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I continue to this day to get calls. People want to train, and I just don't have the time, so I turn them away.
Right.
And there really was nothing
Train,
else. As in like someone with a physical disability wants somebody who knows how to work with them fitness-wise, get them stronger, work on improving their status or their recovery.
Gotcha.
So I'm still getting those calls while I'm dealing with all that other stuff.
Right.
And I was talking with your sister, and I was like, look, I keep getting these calls. Like, I'm sure that I can see or do the jobs part-time. And she was on board with it the whole time, even though she told me years later that she was terrified because she had stopped working.
Right.
We had, one toddler, and we had a newborn.
Right.
And so she didn't tell me this, but she was terrified because I'm here talking about quitting the one job that we have,
the one income,
yeah,
one
exactly.
source of income,
just to try to do some.
Of course.
So she told me years later she was freaking out, but and
I'm glad she didn't show it though.
Yeah,
That's
she
good.
did.
Good
she
for her.
didn't. So she let me. She was like, yeah, absolutely. What do you want to do? And so the plan was to work part-time in the clinic. I did like 24 hours and then do the rest seeing people. And at the start, I loved it. It was awesome because I'm driving around, I'm working with people, I'm seeing like 3, 4, 5 people a day and making what I would be making in a week as a therapist.
Right.
So that worked out really well. But then at the 2-week mark of doing that, the company that allowed me to go part-time was like, yeah, no, we're going to cut our losses. So they let me go.
Wow.
And so now I'm terrified because that was the constant that was not going to change. Yeah.
That was the base.
Yeah. And now that's gone. So
Right.
now I have to quickly try to build up a clientele to meet the needs of our livelihood.
Right. Sure.
Not for the business, for our livelihood.
Okay.
And I was scared. But about a week after that happened, a former colleague and someone who I knew for many years from the Rehab Hospital reached out to me and was like, we received this grant and we're looking to start an adaptive fitness program. Are you interested? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
talking to you as a bringing you in as a partner,
as the designer of the program, knowing that I had always done the fitness component.
Right.
No one had really done that. There was like a gym, but the patients would go in, they wouldn't know what to do. So this woman knew that I trained people aside, and so she reached out to me. She was like, "Are you interested?" And I jumped on it, and she and I have talked about this before. It's almost serendipity how it happened. Mm-hmm. It really evolved, and so now that program it's a huge program. We see lots of people over the course of a year, varying disabilities, multiple times a week, and now on a virtual platform. So
right.
So it really helped at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was what year?
This is 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
The end of 13, going
End of
into
13.
14.
Okay.
So once that call happened and you know I got that contract,
Right.
then I was like, all right, I'm all in this now. So I had nothing else.
So this program would supply you with clients who needed.
It would hire me as the contractor to design the programming for them. So
Okay.
it wasn't at the time. It wasn't a.
So you
a
were
big,
designing a programming
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, and then I would implement it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But it was for their company.
It was
What's
for
the
their
name of the company?
MedStar National Rehab Hospital.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And that's really where it started. That became like a big part of me continuing to go forward, because now I had, you know, an organization, a well-known, respected organization that was looking to me to design a program
Right.
for them. And then the calls started coming in around the same time. So now my personal caseload is filling up, and quickly I decided to, you know, start the business, and
To start your business.
to start the business, and so I went to a lawyer's office, or formation lawyer, I forget what they're called, to start up a company, and you know, got
to
that
form
going.
a new
To form.
entity.
Exactly.
Because the previous one, the one you started years ago, you dissolved that and you got rid of it.
Dissolved
right?
it
Okay.
completely, yeah.
Okay.
And again, my heart wasn't in it then.
Right.
I was just kind of.
Right. So this is not the same LLC. Okay, this is something new.
This is brand new, and just kind of, but with the same idea,
Right.
and the same thing going forward. So I always say that it like I was fighting this from happening. I feel
Right.
like in the beginning I was fighting it from happening, and then once I let it go, everything just started falling into place. So once the formation started, more clients started calling. Now my personal schedule is getting full. I have the contract with the hospital, and we're getting ready to ramp that up January 2014. And the success of that initial start or launch led to more programming. So
Okay.
now I'm to the point where I need help.
Okay.
So I reach out to, my mindset was, I want people that have the same passion. I want people that I've seen work in that setting, that know, that are
Sure.
going to be safe about it. And my first thought was to reach out to a therapy technician that I used to work with. His name was Pablo. And he was currently the personal caregiver for one of my former clients.
Okay.
So I reached out to that client. I said, hey, you know, would he be interested? And we ended up meeting at a taco place, and I told him the whole thing, and eyes lit up, and I was like, look, man, get certified. Let's do this the right way. And he was the first one, and he's been on the team since.
Okay.
From there.
And what were you guys working out of at this point?
Trunk of the car.
Trunk of the car
Trunk of the
still.
car.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Trunk of the car. So now his trunk of the car and
Now,
my trunk of the
now
car.
you have to
Yeah.
double the
Yeah.
trunks.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so he came with me initially for like the first month. He would follow me to my clients' homes, and again, trunk of the car. So we're driving all over the place.
Right.
So it's gas use is
course. Yeah.
you know, getting its toll.
That's an expense.
Big time.
And in maintenance, you know,
Yeah. Oh,
car,
yeah.
because you put in miles on that car. I'm sure maintenance
Absolutely.
was also.
Absolutely. But he basically is following me for a month and just shadowing and watching how I'm working with people, because I have a good variety of clients. I have stroke survivors, I have spinal cord, I have paraplegics, quadriplegics. So he's watching everything. And then the second I get the next calls, I'm like, all right, you're up. And we reviewed like how to do assessments and all that. He's certified. And again, he had the background, but it was just watching the fitness side of it, because he was more on the therapy side, because he worked in the hospital with me.
Right.
So it was watching the fitness side, you know, and there's a thin line, I always say, but you know, you can lean towards one way or the other.
Sure.
And we're leaning towards that fitness side for sure.
Sure.
Still being safe, but leaning towards that side. So then his schedule starts filling up. At the time, the hospital's like, all right, you know, this program's doing well, let's add. So now we went from 1 day a week, 1 hour class with the hospital, to 3 days a week, and our Saturday programming is requiring 4 hours, so I need another trainer.
Okay.
So I start putting out ads, and I'm looking for trainers, and the thought process at this point is, if I can't find somebody that has the same passion, that's been in the environment, that's willing to do, you know, side little work like this,
Right.
then I need to find somebody new to groom.
Right.
So I found a new graduate from Syracuse University who her degree was in kinesiology, exercise, health,
Right.
and trained her up. Did the same thing. Had her shadow. She followed me. Drove all over the place, and I put a lot of time into her,
Right.
and like a lot of one-on-one time, and she was working out for the most part, and then didn't work out. So
Didn't work out.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So that kind of
Didn't
taught
work
me.
out because of the work itself, or because she found somewhere else.
Well, I think, going back to the trunk of the car, I think that, we didn't have a brick and mortar.
So it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I put everything up on the table. I said, look, you're driving a lot. There's a lot of hours in the car. But, if you put in the work, like, the dividends are going to be
Yeah, it's going to
worth
pay
it.
off.
Yeah.
It's going to pay off. Yeah.
And initially that was fine, but I think in the long run, like, the vision wasn't there. I didn't see it. Wanted something more structured, more concrete.
Sure.
And so it just didn't work out. So now I'm like, I realize that there's an issue
Right.
from finding like those passionate people that are willing to put in 3-4 hours, to do some side work, or those that want to get groomed. But the problem is all these newbies,
Right.
they want big bucks right away,
yeah.
not a lot of work to
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you
You need somebody with now you're looking for an attitude, the
Yeah.
right attitude.
Yes. Yeah.
The right mindset.
Yeah.
somebody who buys into what you're trying to do, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well,
hard,
yeah.
man. That's hard. And a lot of people think it's easy, but it's really
not.
not. It's
Yeah.
really not. So I started plugging into therapists that I like, former colleagues, like friends that I've worked with over the years, and they already have a full-time job, but maybe they'd want to do some side hustle with me.
Right.
And I got some,
Okay.
and they've been tried and true, dedicated to the program. It doesn't require a lot for them because they're already in their place of work.
Sure.
They just take off one hat, put on the other.
Yep.
And that kind of has been helping the program go as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's when. So is this when you started DPI?
So yeah, January 2014 is
2014.
when DPI was officially formed.
Okay.
Although I always tell people it started back in 2005 with that one lady.
Yeah, I started with that one
Yeah.
lady. But okay, so DPI officially starts in 2014 out of the trunk of your car. Take me through the progression of the company. Because I follow you on social media and I see all the great things. We'll talk about that
That's cool.
in a second.
Yeah.
But I follow you and I admire what you do because I know that you are in the business of helping people, and that's great. So tell me a little bit about the progression and how DPI
Yeah.
got to where you are right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. So fast forward again. I think the relationship with the hospital is definitely what solidified that base.
Right.
So I was able to kind of grow more from there, and bring on more trainers. All the while, once we're getting busier, and I have Pablo seeing people, I'm seeing people. Now I'm like, all right, we need a space.
Right.
And I start looking, and that's another challenge all in itself. A lot of the facilities that I reached out to, that I'm looking for, they ask what your business is.
Right.
And when I give the description, it's all of a sudden nobody wants to work with me. And I had one person say, I don't want the accessible vans driving through my parking lot.
Seriously?
That frequently. I got a lot of people that once they found out I was working with that population, they had no more interest.
That's crazy. Wow.
I would say it took maybe 1.5 to 2 years to
find the right place.
To find a place, not just the right place,
Just
a
a
place that
place.
would be accepting.
Right.
Wow. It was challenging.
I didn't know you were having that kind of a hard time finding a location.
It was hard, and then put all that aside, like the zoning. To find the right zoning that you fit in, to find the right kind of, between the triple net and between the state, or what is it, the property taxes that you would have to pay for a triple net company, or the commercial spaces, like you have to put in a lot of money. So there was one space that I found. It was in Vienna, and the owners loved what I was doing. I pitched them. I brought my my business plan, my projections, and they loved it, and they were on board. But they didn't want to budge on the rent. The base rent was like maybe close to $6,000.
Vienna is
right?
expensive.
Yeah, and I had help in a tenant that was next door that was kind of helping to connect me with this person. But the base rent was $6,000. But then it was triple net, so they wanted me to pay for their taxes. They wanted me to pay for their signage. At the end of the day, it was going to be close to $8,500 thousand a month.
Right.
For a tiny little space.
Wow.
I would have died before I even started.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm sorry, I just can't commit. Again, looked at industrial type places where the garage door,
Yep.
type thing, the rollout, and it was the same deal, man. there's all kinds of tricks in there, you know, with commercial real estate that they were trying to get me to pay more, you know, like the space was, what was that one place? It was like 1,700 square feet, right?
Okay.
And it had a rickety ladder that would take you up to a second level,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't a functional level. You know,
Okay.
it was just an extra. They considered that an extra 1,700 square feet.
So they were charging you basically
They were
for
trying to charge
3,400
me.
square
Yeah,
feet.
yeah. But it was like no person would go up there. You know,
Right,
it was
right.
like you crawl up there.
Yeah.
So anyway, so stories like that. But again, when I found a place, I finally reached out to a commercial real estate guy, and I told him what I was looking for, and he specialized in sterling at the time, and I ended up finding a place in Fairfax,
Okay.
and because I now had a guy that I hired, he reached out and he talked with the building, and it ended up all magically falling together, and I was like, really? I still found the place,
Right.
but this guy is the one that negotiates.
Oh man.
So, but the thing was, at this place that I found, they wouldn't have communicated with me
okay.
as an individual. They would have
Okay.
done it only if I had a commercial realtor.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I needed it. So
Yeah.
anyway, found this place,
Sometimes that's how it is in real estate.
Yeah.
So, but
and this place that I found was 1,200 square feet of open space. It was previously it's in an office park,
Okay.
but the tenant before me, it was a church.
okay.
So it was it had that mahogany or I don't know, the weird carpet
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
on the
yeah,
inside.
Yeah.
And I guess they just moved to a bigger church. Like
Okay.
I guess it was their startup.
Right.
So it was a shoe box of a space.
Okay.
Low ceilings, nasty carpet, and for the rent that they were charging, they weren't going to help me with anything. They're
Right.
like, you take it, you know, we'll do carpet, that's it.
Right.
And
So they did put new carpet in.
they did put new carpet because I had requested it needed to be ADA compliant. I
Okay.
can't, you know, it needed to be like the carpet in here,
Right.
because the cushioned carpet, wheelchairs have a hard time
Right.
going over,
Right.
manual wheelchair users. So it had to be ADA compliant, and they gave into that. So, but other than that, like, you paint it, you do this, you fix whatever needs to be done. So I was in there painting. With your dad, you know? He helped me, and
He loves that kind
yeah,
of crap.
oh yeah,
manual stuff.
and
My
that was our
Junito
first
did,
space.
my brother didn't help it.
Nah, but that was our first space. Was it? No, it was 1,200 square feet. Shoebox, man, and you know, over the years, I'm just collecting equipment. So I have all this equipment in my garage in boxes, and all this stuff in my trunk of my car.
Right,
And
right.
finally, I have a space for it, but it was still too small. So so it was a cramped, tight space, but it was a start.
Right.
And that's all we needed. So from there, we started seeing people there. We started doing classes, started doing more branding to get the name out there,
Right.
and grow. And you know, fortunately and you know, successfully, we've been able to.
Right.
And we were able to expand 2 years from that.
Right.
So now we're in a
Yeah, because
2,500.
you went to Fairfax. The one in
Yeah.
Fairfax.
Yeah.
Right?
So we just moved one door down.
Yeah, it's just one door down,
One
yeah.
door down, but it's 2,500.
But I've seen the space, and I've never been in person, but I've seen it. It looks real nice.
It's nice. It's
Yeah.
nice. I had you know,
That equipment is not typical, you know. So that's special equipment that you have in there, right?
not all. Some
Not
of
all?
it, yes.
Okay.
But not all. I think, you know, I had my therapy eye, my watchful eye for the population that I work with.
Right.
So every piece of equipment that is not medical,
Right.
I found a variation and a way, an accessibility to be able to use it for the population I work with.
Okay.
So it's everything that we have in there is carefully picked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I do have some high-end medical fitness equipment that, you know, the prices are just ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and it's geared towards that population.
That population.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Now, but do you have clients who are not necessarily just like maybe sports injuries, like just things like that, rather than just spinal and, you know,
Yeah.
less severe?
The
I mean,
majority,
guess.
so I don't advertise for anything other than physical disabilities.
Okay.
But I do have the occasional, and I'm very inclusive, so I'm not going to turn anyone away
Sure.
unless I don't feel comfortable. So I do have, like, I have a woman currently who just has, like, really severe arthritis.
Okay.
So functionally, she's fine.
Right.
She can do things. But she's not to that point of physical disability. And I've had people in the past where they're fully can walk in, can do things. They just may have, a knee replacement issue or something like that. So,
Right.
So again, I don't turn people away unless I don't feel comfortable. So like I don't have personal experience working with children with autism,
Right.
working with Downs.
Right.
So my comfort level is just not there. So
Right.
if they reach out, then I
You have to refer them somewhere
of course,
else.
yeah, I let them know that that's just not
Right.
up my alley.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How many therapists do you have right now?
Trainers.
Trainers.
Yeah,
How many
exactly.
trainers do you have right now?
So we have, there's a lot of us, but full-time wise, I have 2 other guys. One does just DC based.
Right.
He goes into home still, and the other one works in the gym with me.
Okay.
And then I have 2 part-timers that work in the gym with me, and then I have what's called support coverage trainers.
Okay.
So they're the ones that help with that DC programming. So
Right.
it's like 4 hours every 2 Saturdays or something
Right.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you do a lot of events. I mean, I've seen you do some events and stuff like that. Is that something that you play? Do you have specific dates, or do you just do events just at random?
I try to do things for the community, try to bring the adaptive community together, let them know. So there's a yearly event that we do that because of COVID we didn't do last year, probably won't this year, but we do an adaptive fitness games
Right.
where it's individual fitness competitions.
I think I saw something like that.
it's
That
cool.
was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's geared towards diagnosis. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're a stroke survivor, we have a specific challenge for you.
Mhm.
If you're a paraplegic, we have a specific challenge for you. So wheelchair level, standing, power wheelchair, we have different events so that everybody is included.
Right.
And they do the challenge, and then there's individual winners. But then the highlight of that day is obviously bringing the community together, getting our name out there, letting people know what we're doing. We have other hospital settings we have come in, and they have tables and they cheer people on. But the big main event of that day is we take for example a participant or a client
Right.
will pair with a trainer like myself,
Right.
and we do a tag team event.
Okay.
So we take on other trainer
Nice.
participant combos, and so the trainer has to do some insane amount of squats or push-ups, and then
Right.
tag their partner, and they have to do something, and then
Right.
whoever has the best time to complete wins. And we have boxing fans just like you. We have
Yeah,
boxing
I was
titles.
just gonna mention that you do a lot of your physical therapy. I see,
It's boxing.
It's boxing.
Yeah,
Most
yeah,
boxing.
yeah. And I can talk a lot about that, but
Yeah.
we have boxing titles in the gym that we award to the winners, and so they
Okay.
have names on them. But
Nice.
it's a fun event, so that's our biggest event.
And
that we do.
that's every year.
Every year in April. We
April?
started in October, but then
Okay.
April, and then because of COVID.
I mean, I
just
know
don't
because of
when.
COVID. So,
Yeah.
tell me about COVID. So, how has that affected you? Because your particular job is you're touching your people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is you one-on-one with people. How has COVID affected you?
Yeah, I was terrified in the beginning because as you just mentioned, my job requires up close and personal physical interaction.
Right.
And if
Did
I'm
you
not
get
able
that
to
at the
do that-
beginning? Did you get people that said, we're not going to go?
Almost immediately.
Almost immediately. Right?
immediately.
Yeah.
It started with the Rehab Hospital. Like, we're going to shut down.
Right.
All right, and that's a big
Wow.
That's a big chunk of what we do.
Right.
So that freaked me out, and
Right.
then slowly the one-on-ones started, waning away, and I don't know about you, but in the beginning I was like, okay, if they do a shutdown, this is going to be over with quick, you
Yeah,
know. So
yeah.
I was in the mindset of okay, a month or two.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
I'm prepared for this.
Right. Right.
But the fact that it's gone on for so long, we had to adjust like everyone else, and it's hard to imagine, but we've successfully been able to transition to virtual.
Okay.
And virtual one-on-ones, which
Right.
you asked me, and I would have thought it was impossible because, again, I need to physically be there with you.
Right.
And hold you and set you up. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I use my body to help,
Yeah.
hold someone up
You
who
have
needs to stand.
You have to physically be touching them.
Absolutely.
There's no 6 feet of distance.
No.
You can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
So I was terrified at first, but it's transitioned well. I had some virtual one-on-ones,
Right.
and I had some virtual classes, and then the hospital was able to work with us to transition some of the programming we did there for virtual. So that kept us going.
Okay.
The building I'm in is they were very helpful initially, and they worked with us as well. So
Good.
we
That's
we
how
were
that's
doing
how
good.
people should. If they have a way of helping small
Yeah.
businesses, they should.
Yeah, our building, I can't say anything badly about them. They're they're awesome. They've been very helpful in the whole process, and they believe in what we do. So so it's been helpful. So I feel like as things were starting to open back up, now I have a lot of virtual, I have a lot of one-on-one in person, and we have a lot of the
You
new
might end up
programs,
being better off right after, after everything. You may
I'm
have,
telling you.
you could double up, you could have clients which are going to feel comfortable doing it from home.
I'm telling you.
You now have the experience of doing it virtually.
So it's funny that you bring that up because, I have a connection in Florida that I've known for many, many years, and we've always wanted to work together, but she's in Florida and I'm over here.
Right.
And this was like the perfect setup. We met in a meeting, and just the idea popped up in our head for me to lead some virtual classes, and now 3 times a week I'm training people in Florida, in Chicago, in Rhode Island, and from that, we've been able to pick up some scholarship winners. I have a nonprofit as well, and the nonprofit awarded recently a couple of 12 training sessions to 3 individuals, and 2 of them, one is in Georgia, one's in Florida. So now I have 2 clients in Georgia and Florida that I virtually train.
That's awesome.
And that whole thought process in the beginning about this is not going to work, I'm not there with you.
Right.
Like, I've found ways to adapt and make it safe.
You can expand now.
Yeah.
You can now market that, market it and expand it and touch people's lives all over.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
So it's been cool.
So at least something good has come out of this. I think a lot of people feel that way, that, obviously we've lost a lot of people to this thing, and it has been terrible, and it has ruined a lot of businesses and stuff, but there's always something good that comes out of something like this, right?
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. The silver lining for sure is just opening up, up people's eyes and seeing that we can still adapt and do things another way.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I want you to tell people how they can reach you if they wanna. I mean, obviously for the social media video and my YouTube channel, I am gonna put your contact information at the bottom, so that if anybody needs your services and wants to get in touch, or knows anybody that needs your services and wants to get in touch, that they can. But for the people on Spotify and iTunes that can't see it, and tell them what number and website they can go to.
Absolutely. So we're DPI Adaptive Fitness. The website is dpiadaptivefitness@gmail.com. I'm sorry, that's the email.
That's the email.
The website is dpiadaptivefitness.com.
Right.
We have our phone number is 877-264-5836. That's a business line, and you'll be able to get a recording, and then we'll be able to contact you back because we're usually in sessions. We're all over social media.
Yep.
Instagram is DPI Adaptive Fitness. Facebook, same thing. We have a YouTube channel. Again, I founded a nonprofit, and so the nonprofit is out there as well. I have a great team that's running that. That's called the Adaptive Fitness Legion. Okay. Basically, for anyone who doesn't have funds for this type of training, that organization helps to award scholarships for people who are transitioning out of therapy or who just want to get into a program, who are living with a physical disability.
Okay, and how do they get in touch with those
folks? AdaptiveFitnessLegion.com, or I'm sorry, .org, because it's a nonprofit.
Okay.
And they are also on Instagram and Facebook, Adaptive Fitness Legion.
Okay, and for those watching, I'm going to have that. You could get all of those links below. Just go down. I'm going to have them all down there so that you can get into and check out what he's doing through social media. And if you want to get in touch with him, all his information is going to be there. Thank you, Devon, for coming over. Yeah. I really appreciate it. I think people are going to get a lot out of this, and I'd like to be. You're more than welcome to come anytime to promote anything that you have going on. I'll be more than happy to help you push, because I think it's a great cause and it's a great thing that you do for your clients. So thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Appreciate it. And for everybody out there, thank you for listening and watching. We'll see you next week at the DMV Roundtable.